Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the time I bought a strategy for a whopping $5,000 from a very prominent investor. I won't mention any names here, but I think many of you probably know who he is since he's very popular on YouTube. If this is your first time seeing me, let me tell you a little about myself. My name is Robert. I've been trading for 11 years now, and during this time I've started achieving pretty good results. In fact, I recently decided to start my own YouTube channel, and right now I'm sharing everything with you absolutely for free. And by the way, if this video gets a huge number of likes, comments and so on, then very soon I'll create my own Telegram channel since you've been asking me for it. So guys, I have the platform open right now, by the way. I'll leave a link to it. As with all other useful links, I'll put it in the video description as well as in the pinned comment. Actually, I always recommend trading only on regular currency pairs, not on the OTC market. By the way, I made a separate video about the OTC market. You can watch it either here or here. Just a tip, I've opened the EUR USD pair. The yield is amazing, 84%. Now, let's move on to the $5,000 strategy. Why do I mention it only once? I think you'll see for yourself in a moment. So, let's open the indicators and select Ichimoku. After that, we go into the settings and enter 73052 here. Then go to the style tab and uncheck all the boxes except for the bottom two. Once again, that's 73052. In the style tab, we've disabled everything except the bottom two. Click save. Everything's great, just perfect. And by the way, we immediately have a situation with Ichimoku. I'll open it now. For now, let's wait for one position to go up, watch what happens, and at the same time I'll explain to you how to trade so you understand why. I mention so often that the strategy costs $5,000 because, in my opinion, that's the ultimate foundation. I mean, just imagine I actually paid a substantial amount of money, a truly significant sum, just to be explicitly told which optimal settings to meticulously use. So, my dear friends and viewers, please show your incredible support for me with a generous amount of likes and thoughtful comments, because I genuinely and wholeheartedly do not want any of you to ever have to spend such a considerable and frankly unnecessary amount of your hard-earned money on something so basic. And really, you can just subscribe to my channel and I'll tell you about all the strategies anyway, absolutely free of charge. I earn well myself and don't need to sell anything. So let's see what we have here. We can see these kinds of cloud-like zones forming. Everyone calls them differently, and let me explain at what point it's best for us to enter. For now, I'll prepare an amount that's twice as much. And let me explain. Look, on our chart there are these zones. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're bigger, and so on. When a situation arises, let me open a position for an increase here again. When a situation arises where the chart itself enters this zone, we need to decide what to do next. When our chart is inside the zone, like it was here for example, it's best to refrain from trading at that moment. And then, depending on how it crosses this zone, that's when we open a position. So, for example, if the chart crosses it from below to above, like it does here, you can see it broke out upwards. You should open a position for an increase. Go up. As you can see, the trend, then it just keeps going higher. If we have the opposite situation, for example, like here, even though it's just a small part, you can see the chart crossed it from top to bottom. You should open a position for a decrease. As you can see, even though there was a correction here, the chart still went down. In the same way, pay attention here again, from bottom to top. The chart crosses it. We open a position for an increase and it starts to rise. Right now, the situation isn't very clear, but I think soon the chart will break out naturally. Let's go ahead and prepare the deposit right away. A bit larger, well, not just a bit, I'm going to set $2,000 now. Well, it's no big deal, as they say. The most important thing, no matter what strategy you use, is that you must always remember one thing. You need to manage your deposit properly. And right now, for example, I'm still taking a risk. I placed about 3% on the first position, well, actually a bit less than that from my deposit. But when you start trading, I actually recommend only putting in from your total amount 1%. Just 1%. So look, we open a position for a decrease, we wait. I recommend putting in just 1% and planning your deposit for 6 steps. So you can put in 1%, then for example 2%, then 4%. And based on the returns, you'll be able to cover all your losses. This is really very important. Because this way you not only cover your losses, but you also make a profit. Because here, unlike for example futures trading, you immediately know your return. So in fact, it's much easier for you to calculate what amount you need to place and so on. Because you know in advance that your profit is, for example, 84% or sometimes even 90%. So for now, we're waiting. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to take a risk here if this position doesn't work out, but I'm more than confident that everything will turn out just fine for us. Although, as you can see, the situation is changing very, very quickly. So, 6, we can't place it. Okay, nothing to worry about. We're waiting now. So guys, we're still waiting for a good moment. If we get an upward breakout now, we'll open a position with you right away. And I think you'll be very surprised at the amount. I'll open a position for an amount that will cover all the money I've spent on this strategy. But to be honest with you, even before filming this video, of course, I had already tried trading with it, and I know that it works. That's it, the breakout is happening, the range is narrowing, meaning there wasn't much volume here to begin with. I'm opening a position. Look. Guys, pay attention to the amount I opened with. $10,000 on an upward move. How do you like that? I just opened the position for 10,000 bucks. Honestly, no matter how many years I've been trading, no matter how I open a position, I still get nervous. So right now, as I'm opening this trade, my palms are actually sweating a bit. But I'm more than confident that this position will definitely end in profit for us, because when this kind of situation happens, it tells us that there are no more volumes here, at least potentially. With a very high probability, our chart will try to reach this extreme point that we had at 652. That's why the potential for growth here is very high. Plus, when you trade, regardless of the strategy or indicators you use, you always need to keep an eye on things. It's important to see what has already happened to you. In other words, it's better to look at the bigger picture, so to speak. Guys, we did it! Yes, that's great. That's it. I've made back all the money I spent on this strategy. And honestly, I don't even know how to evaluate that. So write in the comments, was this strategy worth the money if in just one video I already made back everything I spent on it? I think that's a really impressive result, honestly. But it feels like for $5,000, they could have offered something bigger, something more interesting, so to speak. And I'm surprised that people actually sell this while I give it all away for free. Because, to be completely honest with you, I genuinely do not really need the money, especially not from my dedicated and supportive viewers. Let's break it down on the chart now, because I've always been used to proving things not just with words but with actions. I believe it's better to see something once than to hear about it a million times. So what's the situation here? Look, for example, here, our chart is again in the zone in the cloud. And here we have a consolidation starting, and it's quite volatile at that. That is, we have sharp changes and so on. But overall, even if the chart wasn't in it, you could still assume that it's better not to open positions here if you've been trading for any amount of time. In the same way, for example, yes, pay attention here. The chart breaks through. Here we had another consolidation basically, and it breaks through from top to bottom. You see, it passed through this zone and we start to see a decline. Next, carefully observe how the chart enters this critical zone from the bottom up and significant growth commences. Yes, again, pay attention here to the increase. Growth starts again from this point. Here it started to fall, but as you can see, it didn't break through the lower level. So if it doesn't break through, it holds off on trading, and notice it then starts to rise again. Here again, it couldn't break through, so it might hold off once more. And here you could have opened a false signal, and here as well, because it tried to break through. But in the end, as soon as it breaks upward and manages to consolidate here, it continues further. Our chart just keeps rising, so the strategy actually works quite well. The worst situations happen either when there's a correction, meaning the chart keeps moving in the same way. A flat correction, people call it differently, when your chart moves like this. In such a case, it's naturally better to refrain from trading, or the opposite situation. Notice that in the morning, the chart was very volatile, extremely volatile. The candles were just all over the place. And as you can see, these clouds, these zones, they don't reveal anything. That is literally every candle touches this zone, moves out, touches it again, moves out. This means it's better to refrain from trading. So guys, I hope this video... Look, pay attention again. There it broke out. Where we opened, and as you can see, the trend is moving upward again, so everything is working quite well. If you liked the video, support me with a thumbs up and leave your comments. I'll be happy to keep making educational content like this for you. I'll keep creating interesting formats. Thank you all so much. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you at the next trading session. Bye everyone!